Hey guys, Solomon here. Hopefully you're having a great day. I thought in this video I would make two big announcements when it comes to this channel. The first one is that I just dropped my first ever online course, nearly 6 hours of content on the Hippopotamus defense. And for those of you that play the Hippo and are trying to take that side of your game to the next level, or for those of you that are interested in playing the Hippo, I hope that you will enjoy this course. I put a lot of work into it. And really, I don't just try to focus on one tiny little thing, but give you a full and comprehensive scope of the entire system, right? First off, I mean, the early stages of the game, what you need to memorize, what you don't need to memorize, how to play against a 2-pawn center, 3-pawn center, 4-pawn center, how to play if white tries to go for some early stuff, right? There are some ways that white can try to trample the Hippo very quickly, but if you know what to do, you're going to be more than okay. And oftentimes, if white over pushes, you're going to be the one that actually comes out on top. Right, we're going to be looking at middle game ideas as well, right? The 4 counterattacking ideas that you can use in the middle game: queen to the corner, slow castling with the king, when to use these ideas, when not to. We're also going to be looking at some top grandmaster games, in which case top GM players have wiped elite competition in big settings, including a world championship match with the Hippo, right? I mean, if you guys didn't know this already, Petrosian and Spassky had a couple Hippo games. Spassky, as black, played the Hippo twice, and he pulled off 2 draws with the Hippo, which in that kind of setting, getting a draw as black is a great thing, right? So we're going to be looking at some of those games. There's also going to be a segment where I play the Hippo online and some 10+ Euro games and kind of walk you through my thought process and how I make decisions when approaching the Hippo. And yeah, we're just going to be covering, really the full scope of the opening. I hope that you guys enjoy the course. I'll leave a link to it in the description below. The second thing that I wanted to announce is that starting right now, we are starting Hippo Week, okay? Back-to-back daily content on the Hippo this entire week. And it's starting out with Magnus Carlsen, as you read, losing to the Hippo, right? Magnus Carlsen wins the game with the Hippo, which, stay tuned, more on that this week. But on top of that, there is a game where Magnus Carlsen lost a game to the Hippo by the player of Kamsky. A lot of you have probably heard of him before, the former U.S. champion. This little segment that I'm going to show you is actually taken out of the course, right? Taken out of the course at a stage in the course where I'm trying to show you one of the middle game ideas. I hope that you guys enjoy it, and let me know what you think of it in the comment section below. Now here we see the move of bishop d3 from Carlsen. Okay, now notice here, Carlsen's playing very aggressive against the Hippo setup. He's really trying to take a ton of space on the king side of the board. He has an f3 pawn that is kind of making this look like a 150 attack type setup, and he recently castled queenside. Okay, so at this point, Kamsky's going, you know what? I don't want to just sit around and get absolutely clobbered by Carlsen on the king side. I got to play aggressive as well, right? So we see this move of b5. And I really wanted to mention this game because usually, again, if we play a move like g5, we usually tuck the knight straight behind. And with a move like b5, we usually tuck the knight on b6. But in this case, Kamsky's not really too worried about playing something like knight b6 here. He's simply trying to take space on the queen side of the board. And here plays the move of b4 followed by a5. Right, trying to play aggressively. Carlsen plays b3, and at this point we now see knight e7. And following f4, again, Carlsen really trying to play aggressive chess here. Okay, now the Hippo is a hard nut to crack. Carlsen's looking at various pawn breaks at this point. But notice now by playing f3, neither g4 or e4 are defended. Okay, both of these pawns are very weak. And really, Kamsky just realizes this and very quickly plays a move knight f6. Okay, he doesn't waste time. He's attacking both of these pawns, and now there's really no way for Carlsen to defend both, right? And, Carlsen tries to throw this move in of check. I think a lot of players would be tempted to play something like c6, which there's nothing wrong with this. But I really like this move of king f8 that was played. Okay, now this is just classic Hippo, right? A slow king walk, which we're going to be covering later on in the series. A slow king walk sometimes does the trick. But really, I think the reason he played king f8 here wasn't just so that he could slowly king walk and castle. It was more so because this bishop wanted to stay active, right? If you play c6, the bishop kind of just loses its fire, but now this bishop is still a very active minor piece, right? Putting pressure on e4. And we see this become a fruitful move, the move of king f8, because the next turn, white tries to hang on to the pawn in e4, but we just see Kamsky take on e4 and then capture back with the bishop. Talk about an active minor piece here, attacking the rook and looking all the way down to c2. And we now see the move of h5. This is just good strategic chess. Carlsen could have played a move here like g5, but who in the world wants to push these pawns so much, work so hard, and then get into a position where there's simply no pawn breaks looking forward, right? d5. Can't happen. If you play d5, the bishop becomes very active, and we have a pawn, knight, and bishop looking at that square. f5 is definitely never going to happen because we have 2 pawns looking at it. I mean, there's just really no hope for white to play for a win here from a practical standpoint, right? So we go back. Carlsen, in desperation against the hippo, tries to play f5, breaking things open, but Kamsky just takes it and then captures back with the bishop, right? And then, I mean, bishop g5, I really like this move as well, f6. Okay, now f6, is it necessarily, you know, is this black's saving grace? Not really. I mean, it's not like this bishop is threatening to win the game or anything, but we're simply up 2 points of material, right? Why give your opponent counter-attacking chances when you don't need to, right? Simply just kick that bishop out, right? Play the move f6, and then play knight d5, right? Two very, talk about firm in their tracks pieces here. White plays bishop c4, trying to attack this knight, but this actually turns out to be a blunder because now black's simply able to take on f4. Notice, if queen captures back, what do we have? Bishop h6. Remember, this bishop is not set in stone. As we've spoke about, this bishop can move to either f8 or h6 at a moment's notice, and it's easy for the opponent to forget about this, right? So in that case, I mean, bishop h6, the queen's just going to simply be lost, right? So going back, Carlsen obviously sees that this move doesn't work, so he plays this move king b1, but now Kamsky is up 5 points against the future world champ and continues with bishop h6 anyways, right? Looking at the queen, right? This bishop also looking at c2, and white plays rook f1. At this point, we have knight d5, attacking the queen, followed by knight e3, monstrous fork against both the rooks and the bishops. We see an e-pawn take on f5. After bishop e6, we see the second rook fall, and this game ended very quickly. Okay, I mean, Kamsky just kind of reroutes his pieces, gets everybody together, plays this move of rook e7 just to hold the fort. And, after queen c6, we see rook b8, and here Carlsen resigns the game. Okay, this is it. And Kamsky wins, being up 9 points in material. Okay, so I just wanted to mention this game. You know, even against someone like Carlsen, I know this is a blitz game, but even with that said, I mean, Carlsen really just fell apart in this game. Okay, the hippo has a lot of special ideas, and it's a hard nut to crack. It really is when you play it correctly. Going back, I mean, again, we see this move b5, right? We see b4, and then we have a5, right? And it's just crazy because this seems very passive for black, but as we saw in just a couple moves, I mean, both of these bishops become absolute monsters in the game, right? We have knight f6, right? We play king f8. We capture on e4, right? All of a sudden, we're looking at capturing the rook, right? We play h5 to make this pawn move so that f5 and d5 are weak, and the game from there is very simple and straightforward. So again, when you're playing the hippo, okay, remember, look at b5, look at g5. See if you should tuck a knight behind. See if a bishop, as we've covered in the Rajabov game, is really aiming right against it, and if that's an issue for you. And then also just consider the fact that if you play b5, you're not committing to a move like knight b6, right? You don't have to necessarily tuck that knight behind. You can just make a ton of space if you want to, right? That's totally an option that is very feasible and very playable. Hey guys, wanted to give a big shout out to my Patreon supporters for the month of February in 2023. Appreciate you guys a ton. And if you haven't checked out the Patreon before, make sure to go check it out. There's a lot of Patreon exclusive benefits that you can gain, and I'd love to have you join the crew.